Hello, everyone. Welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name's Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Hello, Steve Jackson. How are you? It's good to see
I'm
you.
okay. I'm okay. It's a very special show tonight, Ian, for one simple reason. This is the first one this year that we've done it in a sauna.
I am literally in a sauna right now. It's
Absolutely.
roasting. I'm in the converted garage, and it is baking hot in here. I am
Yes,
melting.
I think probably in every room in the house it's baking hot at the moment. I went to
It's
Spain.
also, sorry, Steve. I was going to say it's also special because normally we do this on a Wednesday, and today's a Thursday.
Absolutely, yes. So for two reasons. One, we thought we'd leave it a day just so we could hopefully get a little bit cooler weather. That didn't work, so we thought we'd just do it anyway and just sit here sweating whilst doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, right now this podcast is all about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about trying to get more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is show number 43 on the Progress Junior Golf podcast. Now, if you remember, Ian, a couple of weeks ago when we did the last one, we went a little bit off script, didn't we? We started chatting about other sports, not just golf. Well, we're going to do something similar this evening because we're not necessarily going to be talking about junior golf, but we're going to be talking about professional golf, and in particular, turning professional. Now, it may not be something that many golfers do when they are juniors. There are exceptions, of course, and we are going to have one on today who is an exception, if you like. But it is something that many young golfers will be looking at as possible career paths. So it's obviously something which we're going to delve into a little bit deeper. Just a little bit off there, we were just having a quick chat in, and you were saying that when you were a youngster, professional golf meant one thing, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was under the impression. I mean, I'm talking when I was, a young kid, but somebody said to me they're a professional golfer. I was more likely to ask for their autograph, assuming that they play on the European or PGA Tour. That's what I thought it was. You're a professional golfer. You must play at a high level, and you must compete on the European Tour or the PGA Tour. That's what I assumed it was. Of course, I'm a lot older now, and I've learned the ropes a little bit, so I'm aware of what being a pro means. It doesn't just mean playing on tour. There's a hell of a lot more to it than that. So, but that was the perception I had.
But we are going to talk about turning professional and tour pro golf as well. So because obviously that is still an option for young golfers. But as you mentioned there were lots of other options as well. So we are going to hear from a tour pro, pre-recorded interview with former Ryder Cup player Stephen Gallacher. So we're going to hear about his journey into the professional ranks. I appreciate Stephen. That journey started a long time ago, but it did start as a junior. He worked his way up through the county, national, regional, national setup as a junior, and then eventually got himself to a standard whereby he felt that he could make it as a tour professional. So we'll hear about how he did that and his journey. But as we just mentioned there, being a professional golfer isn't just about being a tour pro. So we're going to look at some of the other options as well. The main one, I suppose, is going down the PGA route. Now, we are hopeful, fingers crossed, particularly after what happened in the last podcast where, unfortunately, Cara Gator couldn't make it on, that PGA Pro Steve Hughes will be live on the programme to give some youngsters the
I hope so, because
information.
his name's running across the bottom.
Absolutely, yes. Actually, we have to mention Cara, that what happened with Cara a couple of weeks ago, that she couldn't make on the podcast. She did pick an injury in the tour event, and she was having physio all that week. So, unfortunately, she couldn't get the time off. Let's face it, her career comes first, and best luck to her. So best luck to her. We are hopeful that we're going to get on the podcast again at some stage. So
get well soon, Cara. Get well soon. It'd be great to have you on.
Yes, absolutely. But we have got at least one live guest on tonight, apart from us two. So at least we will have one live guest on, assuming his ISDN line doesn't break down or something like that. But we've got England Golf Young Ambassador Daniel Robson on. He's been on the podcast previously. But when he came on previously, he didn't tell us this one thing, and that he has recently turned professional. So we've got someone who is now a professional golfer, or certainly will be in the next few weeks or so. He's going down the PGA qualification route. I think he starts in perhaps September, October, November, certainly in the next few weeks when he starts that process. So it'll be fascinating to hear his thoughts on why he did it and the process that he went through to go into the PGA ranks, what he's hoping to do in that, and also, what his career aspirations are along those lines. So fascinating to hear his views on that. Right, before I go into the news section, just give you the what people need to do if they want to get involved in this show, Ian, because it is interactive, isn't it?
Good point. It is interactive, so we do want to hear from you. So please do get your comments in. We can see them. We are live across Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. Best place, though, to get your comments to guarantee that we see them and we can show them on screen as well. is to head over to Live Sport Now on YouTube. There is a link in the body of this broadcast where it says comment in the live chat. Give that link a click. It'll take you through to this broadcast on Live Sport Now at YouTube. Whilst you're there, do hit subscribe as well, because guess what? I think we need about 3 more subscribers to hit the 2,000 mark, and that would be really cool. There is also a link in the body of this broadcast as well, which will take you straight through to the Progress Junior Golf website should you want to find out more. So do give that a little click at some point, perhaps at the end of the show. Stay tuned. And as we said, we are live right now. It is literally 6 minutes past 8 on Thursday, the 7th of September, unless you're watching this on a repeat. But right now, we are live.
We're not live.
So we're not live, but we are live right now. So please do comment below. We can see them. We can show them on screen as well. Get your thoughts and opinions, and tell us, because Steve and I have never turned pro, so we'd like to hear from people in the know a lot better than we are. We've got obviously Daniel on the show, so that's going to be great. But tell us if you've turned pro or you haven't, or you thought about it when you were younger, never quite took that step. We want to hear from you.
Actually, just on the point of turning pro, and look, it's something I never even considered. But when I was a youngster, I wanted to be a cricketer, a footballer, or a sports journalist. So guess which one I ended up being, eh?
Cricketer.
So dreams absolutely. So dreams do come true, kind of. Not if you're listening to me, but anyway, there you go. Right. First things first, then let's do the junior golf news then. We'll start off with not necessarily a junior competition, but a massive event which took place very recently. It did involve at least one junior, and that was the Walker Cup. It was the 49th edition of the Walker Cup. It's a massive match that usually takes place every 2 years. This time it was at St Andrews, playing on the old course, the 49th edition. So it's GB and Ireland against the USA. And GB and Ireland did really well on the first day, big lead on the first day, but USA came back and won that by 14.5 points to an 11.5. Absolutely. Let's hope that's not precedent for the Ryder Cup and the Solheim Cup, and the Junior Ryder Cup and the Junior Solheim Cup. I have to say, though, that teenager Conor Graham, though he did really well on the first day, played exceptionally well on the first day. He did pick up a point on the opening morning, so well done to him. Right, staying with team golf then. Match coming up actually very soon. The World Junior Girls Championship is taking place at Brampton Golf Club. The team has been selected, and in that side, and throughout this news broadcast, we're going to be mentioning some players who may well be going on to become professional golfers. So if those players are actually watching this podcast, have a listen to what we give, the advice that we give, and hopefully you'll learn a few things as well.
Let us know. Comment.
Absolutely. 3 players who've been named in the England team then: Sophia Fulbrook, Isla McDonald O'Brien, and Nellie Ong. So best luck to them. That takes place on October the 2nd to October the 7th in Canada. So lovely to go over to Canada and play in that competition. Nice. So good luck to them. Right, one event which has taken place, Europe Under-18s Boys Championship, the Jacques Leger Trophy. So it's Europe against GB and Ireland. It's I don't know if it's an annual match or biannual match, I'm not certain, but Europe, though, dominated. They won all 4 sessions of that match, won 17-8 over the GB and Ireland. That took place at Golf de Chantelet. The best British and Irish golfer was Niall Shield Donegan. The Scottish golfer, he did the best out of the British and Irish players. But by the looks of it, Europe played really well and deserved to win that one. Right, staying with team golf then. This is a boys county finals took place. Now, I think in one of the previous news sections, we talked about the strength of the Yorkshire team, which took place in this competition. They had, basically packed full of either internationals now or certainly squad players. Ones who, they didn't win it. So there you go.
Ooh, come on, Yorkshire.
Surrey won it. Very close though.
Sorry, that's down the road for me. That's all right.
Okay, so yes, it took place at John O'Gaunt Golf Club, just down the road from me. Very close though, between Surrey and Yorkshire, because it really came down to the final day, who got the best result on the final day. And I think Surrey were leading by 1 point going into the final day, and they won their last match 8.5 to 1/2. So basically, it pretty much it meant that Yorkshire had to win their match 9-0, which obviously is pretty unlikely in match play. Which they did win their match. They beat Wiltshire 5-4, but not quite enough to overtake Surrey. Surrey won the foursomes 3-0 against against Worcestershire, like I say, and then the afternoon single was brilliant. The afternoon single was 5.5 against Half Point in the afternoon. They actually lost against Yorkshire in the first match, but then Worcestershire kind of like bit of a shock result. They beat Yorkshire, and that made it all exciting for the final day. So well done to Surrey. Right. Western England Open Amateur Championship then. That was won by Freddie Turner, teenager. And that was a match play stages. He won the best qualifier from the stroke play stages was Josh Millington, 71.67. Fowler Series event, which we know very well. They had their Futures Grand Final, which took place at Adlington Golf Club. I was there. It's a little 9-hole. Have you ever been there?
No.
Up near Cheshire.
I don't know where it is. No. Okay.
No, up near Macclesfield. So it's under 12s competition, played on the 9-hole golf course. And I won't go through all the age group winners because there was 5 or 6 different age group winners. But Jerry Dew, over 18 holes, was 10 under par. His handicap, He won his age category. So well done to him. Jack Blaney as well did well as well. He won his age category as well. There was another Fowler Series event which took place a few days earlier. That took place in Scotland over 3 courses, called the Links Challenge. The age group winners there were Alexander Godin, Teddy Hall, Fraser Walters, Louise Hofgren, and Ariana Virik, who Ariana I know very well. She has qualified on the back of that to play in the Fowler Series Grand Final over in the UAE, which I will be going to. So I went to that last year. So on the back of that, I think we're going to be doing a podcast on international junior golf. So hopefully when we're out there, we're going to be talking to some of the players who have come from different countries and perhaps how they look.
Get Matthew on. Get Matthew Fowler on.
Absolutely.
It's about time we got him on.
Absolutely. Or Sir Nick, even. Because he will be there.
Get both on.
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Right, staying in Scotland, a Junior Tour Scotland event took place at Gorrock Golf Club. The boys' winner was Fergus Brown, and the girls' winner was Freya Russell. Fergus got better as the competition went on, 73, 72, 67 finishing round, and Freya pretty much were led from start to finish, 70 in the opening round, then 75 and 75 won quite easily in the end. Right, now this is the bit where we get a bit siblingy, because the last 2 stories I've got here are all about sibling rivalry. Perhaps we might do a podcast on that someday. Perhaps we might get the people who we're going to be talking about here, because these are we are talking about professional golf. These are some players here who I think are going to go on to be some seriously good tour professionals. Right, let's talk about Surrey then. We've got a photo of the winning team here, because the winning team played in the Women's Champions Club event at St Ives Golf Club in Huntingdonshire. And the focus here is the 2 in the middle there, because that is Annabelle Peaford and her twin sister, Emily Peaford. Now, they won the competition by 14 shots, the actual team. The big Ganton from Yorkshire. So won the competition, but that only tells you half of the story of what happened in this competition, because on the first day, Annabelle Peaford, she's 14 years old, shot a course record 70 on the opening day. Didn't actually know it was a course record until the following day. They told her when she got there in the morning to say, well done, you shot a course record. It then got broken on the second day by Amy Staveley, who shot a 69. So she lost her course record, but then 2 hours later, guess what?
It got beaten again.
It got beat again by her sister, Emily Peaford. So her twin sister broke the course record just 2 hours later, an eagle and 4 birdies in a 5 under par 67. Now, Emily as well, believe it or not, 6 days earlier, had shot another course record at North Hants Golf Club. Nine under par. So 2 course records within the space of a week for Emily Peaford. So congratulations and well done to Emily. Obviously, top form there. Pleased to see that, obviously both of the girls combining together and doing really well in that competition. Anyway, right, on to another competition which took place, the Ladies Scratch Cup. I haven't actually got the name of the course here, but it took place on the 31st of August. Must have missed the name of the course, because the winner in the second place was someone called Annabelle Peaford, and second place was someone called Emily Peaford.
Get out.
Get out. Yes, absolutely. Annabelle shot 76 and 72 and won by 1 shot from Emily Peaford with 78 and 74. So that is a golfer seriously informed there, a pair of them, isn't it? So
seriously,
yes. Right. A few days earlier, and that was the North of England Under-16s Open Championship. Different age categories here. The boys Under-16s category was won by Archie Cook. The boys Under-14s was won by Alex Bowes. girls under 16s was won by Charlotte Norton, and the girls under 14s was won by Annabelle Peaford.
My word. The Peafords, I tell you.
74,
Buy shares
71.
in him. Buy shares in him. Get them on the stock
74,
exchange.
71, 73, and 75. And she won by, I think she won by one shot by somebody called Emily Peaford. Might have heard of her.
Mm. Do these sisters need a manager? By the way?
Yeah.
10%.
They might.
I'm open.
I expect they might be headhunting. I think someone might be looking out for them. You never know. But
and I've just had a call from Niall from Modest Golf. What's that?
But wow, I mean, right, that is the end of the Peaford story. I can assure you, kind of thing. For the moment, anyway. And that's within a 2-week period. We did this podcast 2 weeks ago, and that's the stories in the last 2 weeks. So unreal. I mean, wow, unreal, yes. But there is one other sibling story though for you. The Welsh Golf Junior Championships, which is for, I think it might be the first or second time they've done it as a mixed competition. The under 16s champion was a golfer called Thomas Richardson, and the under 14s champion was Fionn Richardson, which is brother and sister. So congratulations to the Richardsons. They are the first ever brother and sister to win this tournament.
Amazing, guys. Well
that
done.
Took place at Cardiff Golf Club. So incredibly well done to them. I think we're going to have to do a podcast on siblings at some point.
Well, we're definitely going to have to get the Peafords on, aren't we?
Well, wouldn't that be great?
In fact, it could be a very busy show. Could be a lot of guests on that one.
Yes. That wraps up the junior golf news then. Are we got a miracle? Is Stephen managed to arrive?
No, I say we've got Dan coming on. Can I just say very quickly as well, a little bit of news for everybody too. If you do want to watch some live golf this Monday, you can. I am up at Melton Golf Club on the ITS Tour. It's the DD Porter Classic. Tune in, and it's very apt actually because it is a pro tournament. So there's a prize pot. A solid prize pot as well. I think $2 or $3 grand to the winner. So, it's not European Tour standard, but it's pretty good going. And of course, the ITS Tour, formerly the 2020 Pro Tour, of course, co-founded by Chris Hansen, who played 99. I think it was like 99 times on the European Tour.
Didn't get that 100th one. That was cruel.
Almost. Yes. You can tune in and watch that live, but you just got to hit that subscribe button at Live Sport now on YouTube. There you go, Steve.
Right. Now, Ian's going to stay in the podcast because obviously you do have a bit of an expertise in professional golf in the sense you've covered a lot of Pro Tour events at DP Tour, 2020 Tour, Euro Pro, and those types of things as well. So you've got an idea about what goes on at pro level and some of the things which juniors may have to consider if they go on to become that.
And Live Golf, don't forget. Steve,
of course, Live Golf as well, which doesn't attract too many juniors, but that might be a model that they might be going down a little bit later down the road. Who knows?
May change. It may well change. Who knows? Not that I'm in it, though. I'm just saying it might change.
But we have got a professional golfer on, or very soon to be. Well, no, he is a professional golfer now, and he's also an 18-year-old as well. So England Golf Young Ambassador Daniel Robson. Let's invite Daniel on, and we'll have a chat with Daniel. Good evening, Daniel. How are you?
Hey, Daniel.
Good, thank you.
Yes, not bad. So you are our top golfer on the show. You're the best golfer on this podcast at this present moment in time. We can say with absolute certainty. And what's your handicap?
Technically, I don't have one now.
You're a pro now. No handicap now.
No handicap.
Absolutely.
Daniel, just so long as your handicap was before you turned pro below 20, then you would definitely be the best golfer on this podcast.
16, thank you very much.
Okay. Just as long as you're below 16, which obviously.
Yes. Which I would hope that was the case, Value. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yes, just slightly lower than that. So, right, we are going to be talking about professional golf then, and obviously how juniors want to get into professional golf, the different avenues they can go down. So obviously, we joke the fact that you're obviously a lower handicap of this, but obviously you played to a single figure handicap, Dan. You must obviously played. At what point did you start thinking that you may want to become a professional?
I've been really thinking about it for ages since I was about 12. Really, it started off being more of a wanting to become a pro, obviously at a young age, and then finding out there's another way.
So at that young age, then were you thinking like what Ian was saying earlier? Become a tour professional? Was that the target even at a younger age?
Yeah, that was always the target, hopefully, and then kind of the path open to be a PGA pro. like one of my pros literally guided me to it really, because I loved golf and I wanted to do it for a living, but I thought the only way was to be a tour pro at my age originally.
But
What kind of
Dan,
standards?
sorry, Steve, to jump in. I've got a question for you, Dan, because you're only young, aren't you? Or 18 or something?
Yeah, 18,
Now
19.
you've gone down the PGA route and fantastic opportunity, but you can still play, can't you? You know, you can still, for example, the tour I'm doing on Monday, you could enter as a pro and you'd be eligible to win prize money. So are you still looking to sort of maybe go down the route of getting on the European tour or whatever it's called, DP World Tour,
Well,
until
if
the
I have
money
the
runs
chance,
out?
I will.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think at the moment, I think really coaching provides that element of being able to give back to everything and being able to give my experience, but also have the element of being able to play different events such as
Yeah.
Pro-Ams, which is a thing, and playing events against different other, coaches and PGA professionals.
And of course, being a part member of the PGA, you are obligated, aren't you, to play in a certain amount of PGA events, aren't you? Organised events throughout the course. It's like you have to play in your county one, I think, don't you? Isn't it part of the deal or something?
Yeah, I think I have to play minimum of 7 a year.
Right. Cool.
Then.
Awesome.
So just go through the process of how you become, because there's going to be juniors out there. I'm certainly one of them, not as a junior, but I'm certainly someone who I wouldn't have a clue we even know where to start. So when and how do you go about doing that?
It's one of those things where you kind of need to know the path, whether you're going to go to university or do it like the apprenticeship way, really. I've gone the apprenticeship way, which is through the pro shop. So I do half of it. I work while learning at the same time. So I do mainly online lessons rather than going to a university. But then once you've figured out that, you've then got to figure out your handicap, because you've obviously got to have a certain level of handicap to be able to do it. Then you've got to set your goal of how low you're going to be each year, really, and that's how I've done it. Every year I've always had a goal. I've gone below it, but I've always had one that I wanted to get to, and it led me to this point.
It used to be that the handicap limit was 4. I don't know if that has changed with the World Handicap System taken over from CDH. Is that still the case?
I think they've upped it to 6. I might be wrong with that. But then if it's 4, you automatically become a pro, I believe. But if you like above 6, you have to play a qualifier, I think it is.
And obviously, as a 4 handicap or even as a 6 handicapper, you to get to that standard, you've got to have to play a fair bit of golf. You're going to have to learn how to play the game, and
you've got to be an exceptional golfer, aren't you? To be even single figures,
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying that anyone who might have mentioned on this podcast, if you've got a handicap of 18 below, you're in the top 10%. So obviously, when you get down to 4, 5, 6, you're probably in the top 3% of all golfers out there. When you started getting your handicap down to that level, how much did that dream or that opportunity of becoming a professional golfer start becoming more of a reality?
I think it's one of those things. It wasn't the fact that it was never not a reality, because I could see the skill. My coach could see the potential. It was just getting there. And the problem is, I think the old way originally you had before they changed it. I think it was like a couple of years ago, and that just changed everything. I think it made it a lot easier compared to what it was before, because before it was like if you played one bad round, you go out and score and you have a bad round, it affects your handicap badly, where you've got 10 rounds now. So it's one of those things where even if you have one all right bad round, you've still got the others to kind of, so you don't have to panic every round. Like I think before in the old way, I was always panicking about doing well, but now you're just a little bit more relaxed. Obviously not relaxed if you're playing in competitions like that with your handicap, but a bit more relaxed knowing that even if you don't play as well as you can play, you're still it's not gonna have a drastic impact.
And as a junior golfer, when you were playing in those competitions, were you playing alongside people who had similar mentalities, similar people who wanted to become professionals? And if so, were you kind of dragging each other along that route?
I think it's one of those with I kind of moved clubs a few times. If you know, I always stayed at one club, but I kind of moved to try and challenge myself in a way, because you go to different clubs and a lot of people do it for fun, which I love doing it for fun, but I also had that element of competition. And when you're playing with the same people, you kind of want to play with different people, not just the same old person. You might be mates with them, but it's one of those where getting out there and playing with others is probably better, because you actually get to know what they're like, you get to see how they play, but also get to know more about them.
And Ian mentioned there about covering a pro-am next week. Did you have the opportunity as a junior to play in some pro-ams and try and learn from watching them play?
I don't think I really had much of an opportunity. I think pro-ams tend to be the pros talk to more of the adults and the elderly because it's very expensive, to be fair, if you were going to enter. So it's one of those.
I was going to say, Ian, that's something which annoys me because I organised a junior pro-am a few years ago, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity for pros to give something back to juniors and for juniors to learn from pros. And I think that more golf pros should do that. Is that something you agree with or no?
I do. It comes down to cost. It's like everything. We've had Aaron Cox on the show, haven't we? He's just done his Blackwell Grange one. Fantastic pro-am. But my experience, I've done a few pro-ams, and how it normally works, and Dan, this will actually work in your favour now, is that what you'll tend to find is the three amateurs will normally pay for the pro. They will normally pay his green fees. So not only do you get a day out playing around a golf somewhere that you probably might not have played or somewhere a little bit different, you obviously get a chance to win some money because of the pro-am. So you have your own, obviously, table with the pros. It also don't cost you anything to enter normally because the amateurs will normally, let's say their fee to enter is, I don't know, it's called 100 quid. It's an easy number. They might pay 133 quid to get yours in. So it's you might find a few more doors starting to open to play more pro-ams and events like that, which you don't need me to tell you, but what a great opportunity that would be because you go into it. And the prize pots, they're not, European tour level, but I'll tell you what, if you walk away with $1,000 or a couple of grand or even a few hundred quid in your back pocket for a day's work, it's not bad, is it? 'Cause it's all bonus.
Better than nothing, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Wish somebody would give me some money to go play golf.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just going back to the point we were talking earlier about handicaps and the fact that it was a 4 handicap. Of course, there's a very famous example of a 4 handicapper who went on to become a top pro. Ian laughs because who's the name I'm talking about, Ian?
Ian Poulter.
Ian Poulter didn't do bad for himself, made a half decent career out of doing that. I suppose that is an inspiration, hopefully, to someone like yourself, Daniel, whereby, and Ian made the point there, don't give up on that, that dream quite yet, because it could happen. There's plenty of examples in other sports, Ian Wright, Stuart Pearce in football, who had to go through the long route to get there, but when they got there, they were hungrier. And that's something hopefully which should inspire you to at least try and keep that as a possible option.
Believe it or not, he was the person who I really wanted to be in Poulter. I think I've gone through the whole journey. I went to originally, I didn't even know. His home club, which was Chessfield, has always been my home club. Now I've moved to East Hart, as I mentioned before. I've got Dan Field as my mentor, and he's literally best friends with him. So I've fallen into the right hand and everything. So it's great.
Okay, so I mean, talking about role models, I mean, there's the perfect one in the sense that you can hear, and presumably the story which we mentioned there, that's something which has been relayed to you then on probably on regular occasion.
Yeah, the stories I get from him is inspirational stories about how Poulter always got told he wasn't good enough, and he proved all the people wrong by being on the tour and winning millions.
Is that a message which has been said to you that you're not good enough to be a pro? Is that a message which has been passed on?
I've definitely had that a few times, especially when I was younger, by some people. It was one of those where I think that because I've got disabilities, I've got dyslexia and that, and I always got told I wasn't good enough because of it, and I was different, and I was just left aside and all that. So I think nowadays they're promoting it more, but back then, like when I was a bit younger, it wasn't really promoted.
Who's got the right to tell a teenager or even younger, a junior, that they're not good enough? I mean, that's atrocious, isn't it? That is absolutely appalling. Even now at 18, then you're an adult now. I would dream of telling somebody they're not good enough because you just don't know, do you? It's the same in all sports. I mean, Harry Kane was playing for Millwall, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? And now
he's playing for Leicester.
Yeah, I don't know what's worse, but but do you know what I mean? Like, Ian Wright, you've mentioned these people. There are, and I wouldn't necessarily say late bloomer. I mean, golf, we're fortunate in golf. Like in football, if you haven't made it by the time you're 25, realistically, you're probably not going to make it to the Premier League. You might, but odds on. But with golf, you've got more time. I've got a good friend of mine is Dan Brown. He's just won on the European Tour. But, he's approaching 30 now. I wouldn't say he's old. He's got another 10, 15 years playing at the top flight. And he's a couple of years away from 30. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Richard Bland, prime example. We've got a bit more time in golf. I don't think we need to. I mean, how many Tiger Woods are there in the world? There's one. Do you know what I mean? But how many Richard Blands are there? There's a lot, you know. So never give up, I think is the point. And you're still a young lad, Dan.
And flip it the other way around, Danny. Were you ever in a position whereby there was golfers who, might have been better players as a young golfer, who were told that they are going to be the next big thing, and almost, told things which, they might have wanted to hear, but probably didn't need to hear because it wasn't going to help them because it almost got their ego too big?
Yeah, I definitely had that, especially finding out when I joined Woburn event for a bit because it was very cheap for a junior back then. And it was just you join there and everyone thinks they're better than you. They get impressed by parents because they're spending the money, and you just don't. They're not enjoying it. You know what I mean? Where you're going out and enjoying it, and just feels like every time you're playing with them, if they don't play well, they're having a massive meltdown, and it's just it doesn't just affect you in all sense of your game. It just affects your mentality a little, just because you feel like because they're not playing well, it kind of affects you a little.
Bad attitude, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and we've seen that with football's not just the only sport that we can talk about here. We could talk about lots of different sports, but in football as well, kids are told that the next best thing at the age of 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, and then they get dropped by a football club at the age of 16. And, well, some of them, yeah. But yeah, so right, let's actually hear though from a professional golfer who did go through the route into becoming a tour pro. Someone who's got a massive interest in junior golf because he's the junior Ryder Cup captain. He's played at the highest level. I think he's something like, now he's got an actual DP World Tour status whereby he doesn't have to play, in the sense of he's got is it honorary membership? I think that's what they call it now on the DP World Tour. Yeah,
exemption, honorary exemption or something.
Yeah, so as you can appreciate, but obviously he started out probably 30 years ago. But let's hear from Stephen Gallacher. I was at the DP World Tour event, the British Masters at the Belfry earlier this year. We've heard from him on a couple of podcasts on previously. This is the last part of the interview I did with him, and he was talking about his journey into golf, how he started out as a junior. This is Stephen.
Lucky, golf was in my family, so I played since a young kid. But I think some other people, it's just having the opportunity to try it, maybe through a school. That's what I'm trying to organise. But I grew up as a member of Bathgate Golf Club as a kid, a young kid, and still played football, still played other sort of sports, and then decided when I was about 12, 13 that I wanted to take it more seriously, quit the football, just got right into the golf, got a bit better, got into the boys junior team at the golf club, and then started to do a little bit of county coaching, and then played for the county, and then got a bit of national coaching, and playing boys opens and stuff like that in between, so playing competitively a lot, and then got picked for the national coaching, got into the national team, then got into the men's team, then got into the Great Britain Ireland team and Waterhouse Cup team, and then it was time to sort of turn pro. So I think the key is to play competitive. I think county golf's massive. I'd love to see a comeback in Scotland, definitely, where the best play against the best more often. I think it's been lost a little bit at county golf. So I think that's the pathway to sort of, if you want to be professional. But apart from that, I think the key is to try golf, know that you like it, and then join your local club.
I suppose that was a typical route, what you went through, in the sense of trying different sports, but specialising in golf. At what point then, you say you were around 12, 13, where you thought, actually this is probably the sport for me? What was the reasons behind that?
I was rubbish at football, basically. I played in goals at football, wasn't very good. I enjoyed it, and then I just thought, you know what, I'm probably better at golf than I am at football, and that was it. And I had some good friends at Bathgate Golf Club that I played golf with a lot, and it was very competitive. My boys' team and stuff like that was so competitive. It was tough to get in. You could hardly get in it. It's all single figure golfers, and I think that's what was always good. You want to try and win at any level. The key to success is if you can win at your golf club and then you keep progressing to win. If you win anywhere, you know how to win. It's the same winning out here, Challenge Tour. It's the exact same.
And obviously home golf as well in Scotland as well. I suppose that helped in the sense of there wasn't an issue trying to get onto golf courses as a junior at that age.
Yeah, I've been quite fortunate where I lived. There was a lot of municipal courses that you could go and pay and play, which is a massive thing. We go to countries all over Europe, and That's the sort of factor that they're all harping on about, is trying to get public golf courses. It's all private money. You know, Germany, Italy, they're struggling to get these municipal courses that you can pay and play, but we're fortunate that there's so many of them in Scotland, and so you've always got that opportunity to play golf. But luckily where I grew up, there's golf courses round about, all round about, all inland, not links courses, so a different sort of game within a game.
Yeah, I mean, just explain that, because obviously it's a different game, isn't it? You're playing on an inland course to a links golf course, and most people will associate Scotland with links golf courses. Yourself, obviously, slightly different.
Yeah, I grew up inland. I was a member of 2 golf courses, Rathlow Park and Bathgate Golf Club. Rathlow was a tree-lined golf course, and Bathgate was sort of a mossy heathland, I would say. Dry in the summer, wet in the winter. So, yeah, the different contrast is, you know, you don't get the harsh winds that you get in the coast. I was right in the middle of the country. It's almost 2 games, because Bathgate raised greens, it's a James Braid course, so a lot of raised greens, you've got to hit the ball a little bit higher, and then when you go to the coast, obviously you've got to hit it lower and chase it in, generally right to left. And I found that hard, because in Britain, if you want to be the best amateur golfer, you've got to be brilliant at links, because nearly all the biggest tournaments are links courses. So I was really good at links, but then when you turn professional and you come out here, you've almost got to change your game, because you only play links twice a year. So it's tough. It's tough with the transition, but I think with technology these days now, with TrackMan and you know, the way the guys are training in the gym, it's a lot easier, the transition.
So that's Stephen Gallacher talking about, well, all sorts of aspects of his journey into the professional game. Let's come to Ian and talk about this. He talked about the different golf courses that he had played and how he learnt the game by playing, you know, someone who lived inland, but he had to learn to play links golf courses because the bigger tournaments, you know, even at amateur level, even at junior amateur level, were played on links golf courses. And this is something probably Daniel is, if he ever wanted to play in some of the bigger competitions, it's a fact that he would, because he lives in Hertfordshire, which is a little way away from the coast. And there's not too many links golf courses near them. So how difficult is it for a player to learn to adapt to all those?
Well, I think adaptability is a big thing in sport, but perhaps that needs looking at, actually, because then perhaps it isn't a little bit fair. I mean, Bracknell, completely landlocked. You know, nearest coastline is probably Portsmouth or something down that way. So I'm not going to travel 50 miles to go play a round of golf. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that does need to be looked at, because, you know, you can almost liken it to football, can't you? You know, you've got grass pitches, which is the traditional one you play at Premier League level, you play at really good pitches. Then you drop down the pyramid a little bit and they become mud baths, and then you get a little bit further down, they've got plastic pitches. Well, imagine playing your entire career as a great footballer on grass pitches, and then all of a sudden you've just got to start playing on plastic pitches. It's not the same. It's almost a different game. The ball whips differently, and it's the same in golf. You know, links course is different to a parkland course. I mean, at the end of the day, it's nuts and bolts. It is sort of the same concept, but certainly with a links course, there's a lot more to think about. Wind tends to be a big factor as well, and there tends to be a lot more bunkers, doesn't there? A lot more sand out on the course. So perhaps that needs to be looked at. Perhaps that isn't fair. And it was interesting that Stephen said then, I had to be a good links player. I was never going to make it unless I was a good links player. Well, that's not fair. That's not right. So if you live by the coast, basically you've got a massive advantage. If you live inland, good luck.
How much links golf did you play as a you know, during your junior career? Did you play many competitions on links golf courses?
I think I played a few. I wouldn't say they're local.
No, well, in Hertfordshire, no.
I think I played one up in Hartlepool. I can't remember the name, but it was very
probably Seaton Carew, probably.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Carew, yeah. Underrated Seaton Carew, actually.
Well, yeah, and when you went there, like Stephen Gallacher was explaining there, he had to learn. Did you feel as if, you know, this is difficult, this is not what I'm used to playing, and how easy was it to adapt?
It was definitely different, because you had to deal with the wind. You had to deal. It's not just, you know what I mean? You think it's just going to be the wind as well, but when you're playing links, it's not just the wind. It's more the course is made, so then the wind makes a big impact. For example, you don't have flat fairways, from what my experience really is, and you've got to play out of different lies you probably aren't used to. As be honest, links courses are a lot harder than the normal average course, and I feel like bunkers and that are all done differently, so you then got to adjust to that. It's one of those where if you haven't played it before, you you definitely will struggle compared to if you played it once or twice.
And also, Stephen alluded to the fact that by getting into the county team, you're giving more opportunities to play against better players on those better courses, on those different type of golf courses. It's almost like the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. You obviously have to get in that county team to be able to have that opportunity. I don't know whether you got into your county team, Daniel, but by whether you did or didn't, you might not have got that opportunity.
Yeah, it was definitely, I tell you what, it's definitely hard to get into the county team because you looked at the handicaps, and the handicaps, I think for a 14-year-old, you had to be single figures for Hertfordshire. Yeah, it was really hard. And then you look at other counties, which they are good, but they're not as good as some other counties, so you don't get the experience in a way.
And obviously, if you're trying to become a professional golfer, one leads to the other. You know, if you're trying to get the experience of playing on the better golf courses, trying to play against better players, did you feel as if when you did play against those better players, you almost had to raise your game?
It was one of those where I think when you play against better players, sometimes, and I don't know why, it just feels like they're always there to win rather than like to have fun and enjoy golf as well as have a competitive side, because you always want to have that. They'll win at any cost. I feel like once you get higher and higher a little bit, which just takes a bit of the fun out, I reckon.
We had a podcast, if you remember, Ian, with a full podcast with Jonathan Lomas, and he was talking about when it got down to tour level, and he playing against players with very similar, experience, similar standard to him, but when it came down to it, it was the ones who could cope with those disappointments, the ones who went on to become the better players, and that's something which you would never know until you got into that environment.
I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and it's about just that little bit extra. Because, if you're a single figure handicapper, you're a good golfer. Let's say there's 4 golfers and they're all player 4. Right. Now, on the day, they could all go level par, couldn't they? Maybe they could all go under par on their day. But if you all gave them 10 rounds, who's the golfer who's going to shoot lowest out of a lot of them? Might not be the guy who can drive the furthest. It might not be the guy who's best with a putter. It's probably the guy who can do a bad shot and then recover from that bad shot and not let it affect him for the next 3 or 4 shots. That just gives you that little edge. And I find it fascinating, that side of things, because, Dan, you're a great golfer, single figure handicapper. You could go out there tomorrow and what's the lowest round you've ever shot, by the way?
I think I've won 1 under with the lowest.
1 under. So that's you're capable right now of going out there tomorrow and shooting 1 under. All right. Now, if you get 1 under, you can go 2 under. You get 2 under, you can go 3 under. But to do it consistently is the difference, isn't it? And that's where the pros make the difference. Because I do a lot of pro golf, and I see these golfers and they're all excellent. I'm like, how are you not playing on the European Tour? How are you not playing on the PGA Tour? Well, the reason is because one week they'll shoot 7 under, and then the next week they'll shoot level par. And it sounds crazy. Level par don't cut it. Even on Monday at Melton Golf Club, the winning score will be at worst 4 under par. And now they are pros, but that's the level that it's got to now. Like if Ian Poulter went pro now at 4 over, the level of competition that he's got to face, and when I say going pro as well, I'm not talking about going pro and doing the PGA. I'm talking about going pro to make it as a player. First of all, you got to have deep pockets because it's these tournaments, they're not free to enter. And I think this is a bit of a misconception that people don't quite get in sport. It costs a lot of money to play on the Challenge Tour. I've done Challenge Tour a bit, not played it, but broadcast it. And there's not much money in it. I remember, I can't remember the lad's name. Chilean won it. A chap called Hugo. He won 30 grand off for winning like the signature event on the Challenge Tour. And he's like, that's great, but that just about covers my expenses for the year. So you have to win. You win one event on the PGA Tour, great, $2 million. There you go, job done, easy peasy, you're made up, you've got tour exemption for the next 3 years or whatever, happy days, you've made it. Further down the pyramid, it's difficult, it's tough, it's a grind. And actually, I think as you get older and more knowledgeable, which you are now, Dan, that playing route becomes harder and well, not harder because there's more opportunities, but because there's more opportunities, there's now a bigger playing pool as well. So you've really got to be good, haven't you, to make it as a player.
And obviously, Daniel, we're going to talk a little bit more details about the PGA, how you go about doing that, and the kind of roles that you would have that. But presumably, you might not have thought I'm going to be playing on the DP World Tour, Challenge Tour, But like Ian mentioned, there's the 2020 tour. There's other tours out there whereby pros who might not want to go down the PGA route can just go out there and have competitive playing opportunities at a professional level. Is that something which you even considered, or were you always, no, the PGA is the route which is best for me?
I think, I'll be honest, I think the PGA is kind of really the only route I've known. I think since Liv's kicked in and brought in a new element, I've only really known either the tour or the coaching side of things. So you got the PGA tour and you've got the American tour and all the other tours. They're all in one, if you know what I mean. Where now you've got Liv that's going different places. I didn't really know of other opportunities other than the playing and then.
There's 3 tours in there, Dan, where you can make money. One's the European tour. You can still make good money on that. The other's the PGA, which is where everybody wants to be, and Liv is like the Saudi league in football at the minute, and it is becoming PGA Tour and Liv at a sort of top 2. Everything underneath that is a grind, and I can tell you from experience, it's a grind, it's a struggle. Challenge Tour is the same. The Ladies European Access Series, the one that falls under the Ladies European Tour. I mean, the Ladies European Tour struggles as it is, let alone for the players, let alone drop down a tier as well. So you've got to have pockets. You've got to have deep. You've got to either have deep pockets, a good sponsor, or just get a bit lucky. Really, obviously you've got to be a good golfer as well. I'm not saying it's all based on luck and money. You have to be able to, in order to be able to get those opportunities to play, in order to be able to open up the eyes of the sponsors, you've got to shoot some pretty good rounds as well.
So let's delve a little bit more into the PGA route and what is involved then, because most people, if they're a club member, they'll turn up and they'll see their PGA pro or assistant pro behind the counter. You might do a bit of lessons, and that's about all they know about the role. So what attracted you to that, and just explain what an actual PGA pro does?
What really attracted me was just the whole element, the fact that you get to build a golf club. They show how to do it. You pre-grip it, you cut the actual shaft, you sit the head on. So it's not as if you're just re-gripping it. You're doing the whole club, which I thought was great, because you don't really know most PGA pros. You don't really know can build a club really, because you don't see them building a club in the back. And I think that's the one thing that really engrossed me, and that's why with the PGA Pro at the moment, I think the fact that there's loads of things you don't know about them, like you got building the club, they do a lot more than just the coaching side. They know a lot more in depth about the body and stuff like that. And if you got injured and fit in, because some coaches you might not even know fit, but they can't fit because they've not got a fitting area. And it's just those different elements of a pro that you don't see, but they have, which is really lured me.
And there are pros who specialise in different things. So you mentioned a little earlier about the coaching opportunities, and even within coaching, I've been talking to someone today who specialises in junior coaching. There'll be pros who specialise, who prefer to work with the ladies of the golf. There'll be pros who don't mind, who coach any one of the golf. There are some who want to specialise in coaching the top professionals. When you go for that PGA, I know you haven't started the course yet, so you probably don't know at the moment, but what kind of coach, what kind of angle do you think you're going to be looking to go as a professional in years to come?
I want to kind of be more of the, no matter who you are, I want to coach you, if you know what I mean, because I want to be able to coach different people, not just the same person who buys clubs because they have the money. I want to be able to coach people who maybe also don't have the money and do them favors and help them out, you know what I mean? And then people, especially with disabilities, just to give back and give them the opportunity I didn't have as much, and try and give them more of an opportunity.
And obviously with technology as well, and I'm sure Ian certainly agrees with this, as a youngster coming in with the mentality of you are now used to the technology, or at least you're certainly more used to it, some of the older professionals, is the fact that you can bring that element into golf clubs, which other older professionals a little bit more not quite so keen to embrace it. Is that something which you hope can help you in your future?
We hope to use the technology to not only be able to look myself on how to improve, but also be able to show the other ages, so have a simpler way of showing them. So not only do I know what's wrong, but I can actually show them what's wrong and give them a simple explanation, or if they want a more in-depth explanation, depending on what kind of person they want to be.
People learn different ways, don't they? Some visual aids and technology really helps with that, with things like TrackMan and flight scope and things like that. So technology plays a big part in it. But the PGA, because I know a little bit about this, because I used to be a feature article writer for Foremost Golf, and that meant that we would look after the marketing essentially for a few hundred PGA pros up and down the country. We used to have the Foremost Golf PGA Assistant Championships and the PGA Coach Championships as well, and it teaches you a lot about business as well, doesn't it? It's an awfully centers heavily around obviously the coaching side of things, but you're booking people, you're taking money off them, and it teaches you about business. That's how to run a pro shop, how to market that as well. It's really invaluable, isn't it?
Yeah, because for example, at the moment, because I can't technically coach, or I can but not properly, I'm working mainly in the pro shop, so it's learning the stuff like being able to stock stuff, knowing what to stock it under, selling stuff, knowing how much to sell it for, and also seeing the difference between the pricing. Because I think before I even became a pro, you look at how much pros, like PGA pros, not the golfers, but the coaches spend on clubs, and then you look at what most people spend, and it's most normal people spend double to what PGA coaches spending on equipment.
Yeah, it comes down to fitting as well, doesn't it? I think that's, like I said, if you've got the space, because a lot of club shops, as you know, will either be owned by the actual club pro, and it's actually their business, they just rent the site essentially, or sometimes the club does own the shop and it employs people to come in and hires a club pro and a retainer to basically manage it all for them. So it's there's so many routes to go down with it, isn't it? It's so exciting. A friend of mine, Charlotte Oswick, did this as well. Pro golfer, was playing on the 2020 Pro Tour, played a little bit on the Access Series. Just realised it's just too much of a struggle, financially, not quite going to get there. And now she's like head pro at one of the Trump sites over in Dubai, and she's only mid to late 20s. It's like, damn, what a career! What a career that is,
And also, you can bring the experience, Daniel, as well. You mentioned earlier the fact that you were members at lots of different clubs as well. Presumably, they were different types of clubs. I mean, you mentioned Woburn there, which is obviously very different from Chesterfield, for example. So therefore, you can relate to some of the experiences that you had in those, and try and bring that into what you would hope to be as a professional golfer as well.
Yeah, I think I've had a variety of lessons as well, which also learning how different coaches teach. I can kind of, rather than going one way on coaching, you can kind of create your own way, because each coach will have something different on how they teach, whether that's because they do it by a book, by how it should be done, or that's because it looks right, or that's because the way they do it is how they feel is best. Each pro has preference, and I kind of want to be able to bring my own little tweaks into things, or even have my own kind of style in a way.
And also, you need the right mentor that you mentioned. The person who you're going to be working under. What do you think you can learn from him?
I think I can learn quite a bit, actually, because he's gone through things with me, and I tell you what, there's some things he'd start off a lesson with, and I wouldn't even think of trying to do, just because it's just a different way. For example, he literally puts a tour stick in the ground and says, "Hit it left," and a normal golfer would be stood there trying to fade it left, or draw it left, or fade it left, or trying to just get it left, where he just aimed and hit it left, or hit it, hit it right at the stick. You'd be trying to fade it round the stick, where he just hits it right. It's one of those basic things on just getting those simple things of knowing, rather than just trying to play the hard shots, just be able to aim differently and get the right shot in.
And also, we talk about the whole environment as well. The members of the golf club as well, because you might have, so say for example at Woburn, you've got Ian Poulter there, you've got Charlie Hill there, you might have some tour pros, then you might have some people who work in the shop who just look after the shop, you might have some who do the coaching side of it as well. So it's important the fact that you work and they know that you'll roll within a club, so you'll have different lesson prices, for example, if you're the coaching pro at a club. These are the types of things. I mean, like I say, in the sense of you've not started your PGA course yet. Actually, for people who aren't aware, what does the PGA course, how long does it take? How much does it cost? What does it involve?
takes up to 3 years, and each year you've got different things. I think I missed quite a bit the first year because I've already done it for my level 1, and I'm not going to say it's definitely cheaper the way I'm going, just based off if you go Birmingham, staying in the university, you've got to pay for accommodation, you've got to pay for food, you've got to take all that into account. And with the apprenticeship way, all you're really paying for is the teaching and the tests and all that, the qualification, where you can stay at home. You know, what I mean, fair enough, you have to travel I think this year I'm only traveling once to the Belfry, and then you're there for a week where they see if you need any help, one-on-one, stuff like that, getting you ready for the tests. So yeah, that's kind of.
What exams do you have to do to pass then? Is it yearly? How does it work?
I think it's it might be 1 or 2 exams, I believe. Normally yearly. There's exams. They're not tend to be written. They tend to be more like you've got club fitting. You'll have a written one, but that I think the first year is more on health and safety. So you have to answer certain questions on what you would do in that situation, or not even a situation, on what the basic health and safety things would be, just in general.
And Ian mentioned the fact that you might well be, or you said it as well, Daniel, the fact that you might well be the club shop manager. Well, not only that, but there are plenty of pros out there who not only that, but they also run the club. They are almost the club secretary as well, and that takes on a completely different mentality, completely different role.
Well, yeah, I definitely think that's a big step up. But I think depending on, you'd have to kind of work your way up rather than jumping. I think if you don't work your way up, you're just jumping too far, if you know what I mean. It just will affect you going down, not going up, because as I've been going up, I've been taking in everything. So before I even started to turn pro, I had my coach going through every lesson, explaining the main things, why he's changed it, what he would do, like when you first look at your swing, why he changed it, the mechanics, going more into detail slowly, and then going to the other elements as well. That isn't to do with coaching, if you know what I mean.
I suppose the point I was trying to make about being a general manager as well is the fact that that's a if you can go get those skills to be a general manager of a golf club, let's all hope that it works out fantastically for you, Daniel. But that's their skills there, which can move from there to any industry whatsoever, which can do you no harm whatsoever, in the sense that it's transferable. Whereas with the greatest respect, someone who can teach someone here to golf ball is not necessarily transferable to someone who could be a store manager or run a pub or something like that. But obviously running a golf club or even running a golf shop, these are skills which any company would want. So that they're life skills that you're learning from doing this PGA course.
Yeah, there'll be skills that you just keep on forever, and I think all skills can be improved, and I think that's from where, if you get to a certain point, you can always move up, for example, by not only, for example, when I mean moving up, not moving up to the next stage, but maybe moving up, like, for example, moving to a different club that's a bit more higher up, or expanding, so you're not just running one pro shop, for example, you might have another place or another one, and managing to multitask different pro shops as well as hire people to take those responsibilities on.
And also, Ian mentioned it earlier as well, and it is crucial as well. You're doing this because you love golf. You love playing the game of golf. And whilst you might be getting all these skills working in a pro shop, you still got the opportunity to play golf as well. And there are worse things to do than go out there and play a bit of competitive golf on some wonderful golf courses as well. How keen and are you to try and make sure that you do that? You try and play as much golf as you can.
I want to be able to do that as much as I can. And I think, especially with my person who's helped me, Dan Field, he's making sure he's telling me I have to play golf no matter what. He's going to keep me playing golf, which is great, because it keeps that love in the game, rather than someone who constantly wants you learning. He wants me to learn, but he also wants me in the course just as much.
Because Ian, I know personal experience. I've been in golf shops where pros feel as if they're stuck. They're stuck behind the counter. They're stuck, either coaching or selling clothes or whatever. And they got into the game because they love playing the game. And it is important, the fact that they try and get that balance right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's vital. I think, you go into it knowing what you're getting into, though, don't you? And, it's we'd all rather be out and about doing what we want to do. I'd much rather be kicking a football about or out on the golf course. But there are times when I have to sit down and do a load of admin work. But I know that, and it's the same with the pro. They have sections and time slots that they book out for coaching, and then they have time that they know they're going to have to be in the club shop, and then it's up to them whether they're proactive in that time in the club shop, because there is a lot of dead time as well. You know, the amount of times I've seen pros just sat watching YouTube or whatever on the computer or something. There is dead time where the pro shop. I mean, you know, we're not talking. It's not a supermarket, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what sort of sales get done, but I can't imagine you've got 10 people lining up to buy a polo shirt and a pair of trousers and a pair of shoes all at the same time. You know, if you sell an outfit a day, it's probably a good deal, isn't it? And a pair of shoes, and you know, you probably just sell golf balls a majority of the time. So, you know, I don't know how many times somebody just picks up the latest driver off the shelf and goes, yeah, it's 400 quid. I'm sure it happens. But, you know, if you're in a pro shop for a full day for 8 hours, it's not like you're on a supermarket checkout for 8 hours where you're going to serve hundreds of customers. You know, you'll get tens. Yeah.
All right, look, we're coming towards the end of this podcast. Now, what we normally try and do when we get our guests on is for them to give a little bit of advice to anyone who's watching, whether it's a junior or a golf club. Obviously, you're in a position, Daniel, whereby you are starting this process. So what would your advice then be to a junior, perhaps 4 years younger than you, 4 or 5 years younger than you, who might be considering going down the same route that you are now going down? What would your advice be to them?
Definitely just keep playing, getting into it, no matter what happens, whether someone stops you or you come across the barrier. Just keep playing if you love the game, and always learn at the same time, because even though you love to play, you'll find out if you learn about it more, it will help you to love it even more.
And what would your advice be then to a golf club who had that 13, 14-year-old junior who might have just gone to them, you know, oh, I'll tell you what, I'd like to be a professional golfer one day. What would your advice be to them to try and keep them on the right path?
I think I want to say push them, but you wouldn't want to push them too much, just based off if you push someone too much, they'll lose interest. You just want to get them engaged, encourage them more, help provide, you know, support them, and also even just get, like, for example, get the pros to go out with them for a bit, because that'll probably mean more to the juniors than you think.
We'll go back to my point, Ian. Get them out there in pro-ams. Let's get more junior pro-ams out there, because it's the kids will love it, the players will love it, and I tell you what, the sponsors as well will love those types.
But that's then the responsibility of the golf club to make the tee times available, because that's the argument, isn't it? You know, paying members, priority tee times. We're going to have junior pro-ams and get them out more on the course. They're you know, and I'm for it, by the way. I'm just saying what will be said by the golf courses. You know, yes. At the end of the day, we've spoken about it on this podcast. The golf club is a business, and if it doesn't make money, it's going to shut down. So we need that core members who are paying their monthly direct debits or their annual subs up front. But we also need to think about the future as well. And there is tee times available. You know, school holidays are 6 weeks. Surely every golf club in the UK could give up half a day or half a day's tee times during the 6 week school holidays for a junior pro-am or something. Surely. That's got to happen. Let's make that happen. Every single golf club in the UK next year put on a junior pro.
We're working on it. Right. So that wraps up the Progress Junior Golf podcast this evening. Then just a bit of a heads up for what podcast we've got coming up in the future. We've got one coming up week on Tuesday. I think that is the 19th. I think. Yeah. 19th. And it's a very special one because it's quite a serious subject. We're going to be looking at mental health within junior golf. I'm pleased to say that we've got an England Golf Young Ambassador on the show. We're going to be talking about how golf can help mental health and how important it is. It coincides as well with a big mental health day as well. So we're going to do it specifically on that day. So a day earlier. I know we're a day late this week, but we're going to do it a day earlier on the Tuesday night then. So please tune in for that. Other podcasts, we're going to do one on social media as well, which I think is really important, and international junior golf as well. And we're going to do lots of other different ones on different subjects over the weeks and months ahead. So please keep in tune. We really hope you've enjoyed the show this evening. Thanks very much for Daniel. Thanks very much for sticking around, Ian. And hopefully we'll see Stephen at some point as well. We'll get him on the podcast as well at some stage as well. But thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.